Yeah.
Anyway, we've got, is it Johanan?
Johanan.
Johanan in California. How you doing?
Hi. I was going to comment on, you guys have seen many theistic arguments, I'm sure, but have you taken into consideration idealism?
Well, I've considered all kinds of things, but you'll have to go into detail on what you mean.
Two basic arguments for this. Actually, I was invited out to California by J.P. Moreland because he was so excited about this. But the first is a philosophic argument. The second is a very simple philosophic argument. The second one is from physics. And the philosophic one pretty much stems from philosophy of mind, and I'm fairly certain both of you will agree with the first premise, which is that substance dualism is false due to the interaction problem, right?
So I don't go so far as to assert that substance dualism is false. I just do not believe that it's true. Hopefully you'll get that distinction.
The second one is that you look at the arguments from philosophy of mind, and they're pretty strong. I mean, there's numerous ones you can do. There's Kripke's argument, Mary the color scientist, pointing is in. Yep. You can use Cartesian skepticism to arrive at another one, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of good cases to be made that the mind is immaterial. And then when you look on the other side of it, a lot of the materialist models of the mind really don't make much sense. Like eliminativism tries to get rid of consciousness entirely. Functionalism says the mind is a process, which is kind of strange because you're talking about your own subject being an action rather than a thing.
Well, now the fact that we don't necessarily use language properly to describe it is not a defeater for the position. The fact when we're just getting to where we understand the mind, of course we're going to refer to ourself and we're going to say things like my mind, my brain. Don't let the language, inhibit our ability to understand what's actually going on. I view the mind as a function of the brain.
I know. Well, the thing with that is that it's not just about the language. The language reflects our original experience, and so the first thing you know in the world is your own mind exists.
It reflects our perception, but that doesn't mean our perception is accurate or our ability to describe it is accurate.
Right, but there has to be, at some level, a very basic level of perception which has to be accurate, otherwise, which then forms the foundation of all of our subsequent knowledge. Like, Cartesian skepticism, right? Descartes doubts everything he can in the world, and then reaches this fundamental foundation, then everything else derives from that. And well, in that particular case, the fundamental foundation.
So I don't see that there's a bridge for that. There's just basically a presupposition that's a kind of a pragmatic.
You have to. You can't really ground knowledge. Even you'll say it is a presupposition, right?
Yeah.
You still have to have something like that to ground any sort of knowledge, which should even include scientific.
The ground is the presupposition. But how does this get us to an argument for deism or theism? Okay,
so the mind is immaterial. Dualism is false.
I'm not saying the mind is immaterial. I'm not sure that the mind is something that actually.
I'm giving the argument. Okay, I know you don't believe that.
Okay,
we'll get to that later.
So and I'll let you finish, but it's just another one of those examples where we're going to begin an argument with a premise that I reject.
Well, you already accept one premise, and we'll get to that. So the whole argument hinges on the second premise.
No. No argument hinges on the second premise. If it's got two premises and you reject the first one, the argument's dead.
No. You accept the first one. The first one was that dualism is false.
No, actually, he said it's not true.
You believe it was false. You don't believe it, though.
I don't accept that dualism is true, but go ahead.
Okay, so we're both honest, and the second then premise is that the mind is immaterial. Now,
okay, I reject that premise.
You reject that premise, but everything hinges on that one premise. Now, if that premise is true, though, then the only substance in existence is mind. So therefore, if mind is immaterial, it therefore follows automatically that idealism is also true, right?
So if somebody comes up to you with an argument and you reject one of the premises, why would you bother continuing?
Well, we could further discuss the premise you reject. Now, I was going to bring a second argument in, very briefly, that would kind of go into put another take on all this, which I think would really change the perception of things, okay? In quantum gravity right now, my background was physics, and so I'm familiar with this. In the field of quantum gravity, right now, researchers are discovering that what we refer to as time is emergent. Now, space-time is the ground of physical reality. When you talk about something being physical, you're talking about matter or energy existing in space-time. Am I right?
I suppose so.
Okay. Now, if space, which is what everyone
Are
is
you
saying,
mud wrestling a walrus or something in there? Because I can't hear you. The microphone's going all over the place.
Sorry, is it better?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. Just a couple quotes on this. This was Einstein didn't know how to develop the theory at the time, but he knew where the theory lay.
So you're failing miserably. I don't care about quotes.
All right.
Just what is the point? Can we get to the point?
Yeah.
Bottom line is, we're saying that physical reality is emergent, which means that whatever it emerges from is necessarily non-physical, and in particular, we can now quantify it. And what it is it's actually Sean Carroll wrote a blog on this recently. What it emerges from is entangled quantum information. Now, when you go over to cognitive science, this is from my home state, Wisconsin, there's a researcher called Dillahunty, and he has the world's most popular cognitive science model currently, called integrated information theory. Now, in Conscious as Integrated Information, a provisional manifesto, in footnote 14, he states that quantum entanglement and integrated information, to the extent that one cannot perturb two elements independently, they are informationally one. So what he's saying here is that entangled states are integrated information states, which are conscious states. But now, given the physics, which is coming on consensus at this point, space-time emerges from entangled information. So it therefore follows that space-time emerges from integrated information, which means space-time emerges from a conscious state. So you have physical reality, physical space-time, everything inside of it, emerging from a deeper non-physical reality, and that non-physical reality is consciousness. Now, when I sent this to Sean Carroll, interestingly enough, he actually gave a good response that said, I don't understand IT well enough to say, but entanglement is ubiquitous in many physical systems.
Wait, so you sent this all to Sean Carroll, and he replied?
Yeah, he replied. It was fascinating because he didn't know what to say. He was, he's not a cognitive scientist, obviously, but given the cognitive science, Tononi is one of the world's foremost cognitive science researchers, it would automatically follow from Carroll's physics that space-time emerges from a conscious state.
I guess good luck with that, and let us know when you publish something in a peer-reviewed journal that
I'll give you some
documents that.
I'll give you some peer-reviewed journals.
I don't want them.
What? What?
I don't want them.
But you said you were curious about this, right?
No, I'm actually bored beyond belief, but you can email us if you want to.
This is, you guys are the Atheist Experience. You guys call for theists to come in and
yeah.
Well, I'm going to give you experimental evidence.
What could your argument? How could your argument in any way prove there's a God?
Well, if the universe is contained within a mind.
If the universe is contained within a mind, if we could conclude that, which I don't for a second think that we can or think you've done. But then the conclusion would be that the universe is contained in a mind. How does that get you to a God?
Okay, well, it's pretty simple. A God is defined as an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent being. Right?
Okay, that's the God of classical theism. It's not required for any and every God. But your argument doesn't get you to omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. It just gets you to a mind.
I'll explain how. If everything is contained within the mind, right, a mind, it therefore follows that that mind knows everything in the universe.
No, it doesn't. No. There are things contained within my mind that I don't have immediate recall of or understanding of and cannot manipulate.
It's not in your subconscious mind, in your conscious mind.
Well, how does your argument get us to conscious mind anyway? It just got us to mind, didn't it?
time is being literally simulated within this mind. Okay, these are
okay, but that doesn't get us to conscious mind. That gets us to mind. This is the problem with people who begin with a conclusion and try to make their discoveries within data fit that. So you come up with a model that says, oh, well, physical properties, let me finish, physical properties are emergent, and they must be emerging from something, so we're going to call that a mind when I haven't seen any evidence that it is in fact a mind. What you've done is taken one definition of information, quantum information, and somehow equated that with a mind. But now when it gets down to saying, how does this get us to a God, you say that not only is this mind, but it's necessarily conscious mind that is manipulating it, which would give it all the qualities that we would necessarily associate with a God, which doesn't tell you anything about any God anybody has ever believed in, or whether you haven't. You're doing the same thing Craig does when he talks about first causes, gets to the universe must have a cause, and therefore it's Jesus. You're making an incredible leap.
I didn't say Jesus. I just said a God.
Yeah,
sorry, what?
Yeah, he didn't say Jesus. He just said a God.
But no, I didn't say you said. Can you not freaking listen to me? I didn't say you said Jesus. Craig said Jesus. You're making a similar leap from information to conscious mind that I'm going to call God. And Craig is making a leap from must have been a first cause to Jesus.
Matt, remember I said before, this was Tononi from, he's describing conscious states, not like unconscious states. This is actually he has like a whole theory called integrated information theory as a way of mathematically describing these conscious states. And
how do you demonstrate that it's actually true? Because I'm not interested in mathematical models.
I'll demonstrate that too. If this would follow, consciousness would be in entanglement, right?
I don't know that follows at all.
They have experiments on this, okay? You there?
Yes, we're here.
If you have, they've done experiments on this, and they found that there's something in the brain called gamma synchrony, where there are proteins in the back and front of the brain, and they oscillate in vibration with one another, okay?
Sure. Did you find proteins in the quantum information?
Now, hold on.
Did you find proteins in the quantum information?
Yes, we did. That's what.
Really, there are proteins in the quantum information?
The proteins are held in a state of quantum information.
Okay.
When this gamma synchrony is disrupted in the brain, it turns consciousness off.
So I didn't think that proteins. I mean, I figure proteins are basically biological constructs. I didn't see how a protein could be a part of this.
It's quantum biology. They find
quantum biology.
Quantum biology.
Yeah. It's anyway. Hammeroff had a discussion at a Beyond Belief conference, and he brought this up. And turns out that this is actually how anesthesia works: is they will introduce chemicals into the brain, and it will disrupt the gamma synchrony in the brain. All of their brain functions are working. So whatever the consciousness is, it's not located in the other brain functions. It's just the gamma synchrony shut off. So when they disrupt the gamma synchrony, which is a quantum biological effect, it's an entanglement of proteins on opposite sides of the brain.
So let me cut to the chase here. Let's say that you're right about all this, and that there is a mind that serves as the foundation for all of reality.
Okay.
And that this mind is sufficiently godlike to call God.
Okay.
What difference does that make to any of us?
Well, and this goes, if you want to open this can of worms up, I suppose we can go here. You can start to derive theology, and this is actually a very fascinating topic because it gets into comparative theology as well, comparative religion.
Now, is there some mechanism by which this God manifests in reality in ways that we can understand and detect?
Well, I gave you. It's the quantum experiments.
Okay. I don't care.
Okay. Well, so let's suppose we could say you're looking for something like a miracle, right?
I'm looking for anything, any manifestation of a God that can be detected in reality, because even if I begin to concede the things that you were putting into your argument, that doesn't get us anywhere to a being that we can in fact interact with or know anything about. So now I'm looking for what is the mechanism by which the God mind managed to communicate intentions and ideals to us.
Well, you want to give a personal story? How I got out to Biola? I mean, is that what are you exactly looking for when you say that?
I'm looking for an example. How do you know what this God thinks or wants?
Well, beyond the argument, it could just be panentheism. It could be a deistic deity, right?
Right. And panentheism is a useless proposition about a God.
Well, no, because it gives you an accurate way of modeling the world.
No, it doesn't.
Based on what?
Based on ADS mirror correspondence and IIP.
If there's no, so we have to get to this issue of whether or not there is a being, a thinking agent that wants something, and how we can know what it wants. Otherwise, its existence is irrelevant to us.
All right. Well, going to how you can commune with it, so to speak.
Okay.
This study from 2012 on quantum cognition, and they found that your inner space, and you know your thoughts and emotions, right? Your inner space is actually modeled best by wave functions. And they had another paper in Popular Science where they're talking about how you can model cognition as a quantum field across the brain, which would be the wave function pre-collapse, which is how you model entanglement. Now, it doesn't work to actually just model it like this. If it is modeled like this, it has to actually behave like this due to things like the Feynman universal simulator problem. I won't go into that now because it's too technical. But the point is this models your inner space. And now, if you
I saw
notice
that
here,
movie.
Yeah.
What?
I saw that movie with Dennis Quaid, Inner Space.
Right. All right. So now, here's a cool thought experiment. You can do this right now as you're sitting there. This
Cool.
is something kind of intuit what I'm talking about. Okay. When you think of an idea, What are you thinking of right now? Some object, maybe. Or think of some thought.
I'm not going to tell you, because if you can communicate with God, He can tell you, and then we'd have a really good experiment. But I'm thinking of an idea.
Say a red hammer. Okay.
Got it. Red hammer.
Now, if I were to open your brain up, I would not be able to find a red hammer floating anywhere. Furthermore,
I hope not.
where is the idea of a red hammer, or maybe more appropriate, where is the form of the number 2? It wouldn't make sense to say you point somewhere in space and say, there's the number 2. You'd be like, there's this, you open your brain up, there's neural tissue in there, but you wouldn't say that there's the actual number 2 itself there.
Yes, it's nothing but a brain pattern. Go on.
Okay, my point is you can't locate the number 2 in space-time.
So what?
That's the same beneath space-time as they're talking about in emergent space-time. You're actually interacting beneath space-time.
No, it's a brain state.
Yes, the brain state is an entangled information state in the gamma synchrony in the brain.
Sure. How does that get you to what a God thinks?
Because that means that you can, in theory, listen closely and hear things from God.
Okay, hang up on this jackass.
Wow.
My apologies.